Tunnel Talk and No Facts, All Feelings wrestling podcast on the Social Suplex Network. I'm Allie.
I'm Ann.
And I'm Leah.
Are you guys happy to be back?
Oh my god, It's been so long.
Did we miss each other? Did we miss this time we spend together?
Wow.
It did feel like, I was like, I haven't seen them in so long, and then we had recorded a different podcast last week also, so it was like, well, it's been 10 days. Like,
We have seen each other, we've spoken to each other, we've had our little jokes and our laughs, but we like to hop on the old Zoom and record this little podcast for you guys. Should we do our businesses and then, So, as Ann mentioned, we did record a totally different podcast last week. We were lucky enough to guest on Gate Leapers, a fandom game show. That episode, I think, is coming out July 25th. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
We had the time of our lives on this show.
So much fun.
I was so nervous because I was like, he's going to ask us trivia questions and we're going to humiliate ourselves by how little we've retained. But it was so fun, and he geared the games in such a fun way, and I'm really glad that you guys let me back on the pod after our experience, because I think things got a little tense at times.
Leah was relegated to another team. She wasn't on our team, and I don't... Leah, I'm going to say this to you. I don't think you took it very well. Okay, I think
you were very brave, though. I mean, you really...
Of course you were brave, but you immediately adopted an attitude I didn't love.
She immediately heel turned on us. We hit us with the folding chair, basically, instantaneously. It's like, I see what friendship's worth.
Listen, the special little gals really bonded, and we, in that moment, Audra and I felt closer than any
Be so careful.
Peas in a pod.
Than any peas in a pod. What about these peas? What about these three peas?
Well, at that time, I would say that there was distance between our peas. But now we're back. We're back in the pod. Oh,
Leah,
hey.
you are a fair weather podcast co-host.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Yeah, she says.
If there's glory to be had, I'll abandon you guys real quick.
If she got put on the guards while we were the prisoners in some kind of a psychological experiment, she would immediately turn on us.
It would be fucking over for us. Minute one, it's over. In the Stanford prison experiment.
So quick.
Well, you guys you'll have to tune into Gate Leapers to find out if she was rewarded for her villainy. But again, you can find that wherever you get your podcasts. Gate Leapers, they have a bunch of great, they've done so many different fandoms, and you can go see all different types of people do quizzes about different TV shows and stuff. I couldn't sound stupider right now. I couldn't sound dumber.
I just had a flashback to when they introduced us, and both you and I panicked for some reason and couldn't respond normally.
I do.
My God. Yeah,
that's me.
Tune in to see my friends absolutely flub the question, hey, how are you?
I don't even know if it's going to make it into the final cut. Poor Matt had to reassure us. He goes, well, we edit these.
Except if you sign up for their Patreon, I believe you get the unedited video of the experience.
To be quite honest, it might be worth it just for that last round alone, when I think all three of us found a level of competitiveness that we didn't know we possessed. It was just, we lost our, can we say it? We lost our minds.
We lost our minds. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, so go check that out.
Yeah, so fun. And we'll promo it again after it's out, too. So
it's out the 25th, but you can get, by the time this comes out, it'll be out that week, and we'll promo it next week as well, because it's worth it.
You'll be hearing all about it.
We had a pretty good time, and we didn't humiliate ourselves, so that was pretty huge for us.
Well, it was kind of a different humiliation to learn how much we know about this.
That's
hobby
true.
In
a way, is that not as embarrassing as anything?
Yeah, differently humiliated.
Yeah. We also just wanted to do a little shout out to some of the stuff that our other friends on the Social Suplex Network have been getting up to recently. So we think that you should go check out Rich Latta's appearance on AEW Unrestricted, where he talked about Who Are We Volume 2. Rich, you're the best.
Oh my God.
Incredible.
That is
So
it's
cool.
just so cool. And I'm just so happy. And like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just like a really cool thing for him. I haven't had a chance to listen yet because my day was crazy, but I'm going to listen tomorrow and I'm pretty amped about it.
I know. That's our talented friend,
That's
Rich.
our
Just
friend.
getting
He
so
was
much-
on our podcast.
Yeah, that's true. That's crazy.
Same level, same kind of stuff going on too.
Yeah.
Yes, no, I also can't wait to listen to that. And we also wanted to flag that our friend Trish from Trish and Sarah appeared on the re-debut of the Social Suplex's AEW Match Guide podcast. So that podcast is coming back. I believe a variety of Social Suplex hosts are going to be getting in there to talk about their favorite matches. We, of course, feel some slight trepidation about the prospect of potentially discussing a match in that level of detail. But
what happens in a match is really our wheelhouse. It's not our
no.
strength, I would
What's
say.
the opposite of a wheelhouse?
Yeah. I believe
Yeah.
Trish did almost 2 hours on Hangman versus Mox, and the idea of being able to have 2 hours worth of things to say about a match. We don't watch matches
No.
so good. A few.
I thought you were going to stop there. We don't watch matches.
The only way we could do it is if all three of us are allowed to go on at once, and then we immediately derail the conversation.
I thought you were going to be like, we break into teams.
If we could somehow turn it into a competition, then we would definitely do our best.
Oh my God, Sam could quiz us and be like, name every move you've heard of. And then when we all name one move and are done.
In this moment, I can't do it. I got to suplex because I just said that word. So, brain buster.
I'm sure Trisha's episode was very good, so you guys should listen to that for sure.
Okay, great. So go check out all our very talented and phenomenal. They're not our co-hosts. They're just
colleagues.
our friends. Our colleagues. Our colleagues at
Our
the Social
colleagues
Suplex
and our
Network.
friends.
Our colleagues and our friends. Yeah, I wanted to highlight their professional accomplishments. So I didn't just want to be like, they're my friends. So.
We're not just coworkers. We're a family.
And then I think our final item of podcast business is just we did want to remind you all, we have not forgotten if you sent in a 5-star review and a match request. We have you flagged. We are going to be scheduling a bonus episode for later this month or next month. We'll figure it out. We are playing around with the idea of doing, seems so crazy to say, kind of a Twitch live stream where you would watch the matches with us and we would be there, just our faces out, kind of watching. You'd kind of see us, see what happens when we watch these matches. Do you think that captures it?
I think that captures both our thrill and our fear at the same time. So,
Yes.
Do you guys, listeners, do you think that is that something you would watch?
Is that a cool idea? We don't have to do it. We could just do our audio medium too.
We could hide our beautiful faces, no problem at all.
It would be our pleasure to hide our beautiful faces, but we are toying with the idea of showing our beautiful faces for the next bonus app. So let us know if that's something that you're interested in. We'll take your thoughts into account as we proceed. That's simply got to be all the business, right?
I think that's
I hope
it.
so.
Yeah.
There can't be any more business. And is it your happiness week?
I think it is. Unless anyone wants to correct me.
I think
No. Take us
Yeah.
away.
So I think I did an app for my last one, but I have an app this time as well. So I'm just like an app girl, I guess.
Okay.
But so my brothers and sisters-in-law live in Seattle, so I don't get to see them very much. But a month or two ago, one brother and sister-in-law, friend of the pod, Chris and Robin, they were like, hey, you should try this app Stompers with us, which I will give you some caveats up front before I talk it up. It is only available on iPhone and you have to have at least 3 friends on the app for it to work, so it feels like a pyramid scheme at first. So just FYI, because you have to have people to compete against. So basically, it's like just like a step contest app, like through your Apple Health like steps. But it has a fun twist, which is that it's very Mario Kart-like, so you can pick up items and use them against your brothers who you've been playing Mario Kart against for quite some time. So today, like, there's banana peels, which give you a 50-50 chance of knocking them backwards or knocking them forwards 500 steps. There's baseball bats you can hit people with. There's rockets that shoot you forward. So it's been incredibly fun, like, as my special thing with my brothers and sisters-in-law, because, like, you know, unfortunately, Chris and Robin have become what I would call health nuts, and they're always on these long runs, which I don't think is appropriate. But I love hitting them with baseball bats, sometimes getting them in the negative steps. And we have a little channel in our family group chat for Stompers Trash Talk, where we just, you know, yell at each other when they do something mean to us and stuff. And Chris was the brother who always wins Mario Kart, and he always wins this, too, which does not seem right. But, yeah, big recommend, though. It's a very fun way to do it, especially because, like, it's not your real steps at the end of the day. It's like your steps plus any rockets minus any baseball bats, you know? So
I love that. Do you think that Chris is bringing his Mario Kart skills to bear on this game? Is that what's happening there?
Yeah. I mean, is he just good at piloting both fake go-karts and his own body? I don't know.
That seems so sick. The idea that you could be good at both those things seems really unfair.
Yeah.
When some of us are good at neither.
Right, I know. It's hateful, I would say, but whatever. So, yeah. But it's very fun. I've been having a really good time. So, big recommend for Stompers if you round up like 3 friends and you all have iPhones. So, yeah, very fun.
I love that. Rounding up 3 friends, I mean, I could do it, but...
You could do it really
I could obviously do it. I could do it if
here.
I had to. There's only 3 of us. We would need one more friend.
Producer Marjorie.
Okay, fine.
So
we rounded them up.
You said that like you're so mad.
I'm like,
I have 3 friends.
And I didn't want to stomp. And I don't want to have friends. Should we talk wrestling? Should we talk graps?
Yeah. We're so good at being on topic.
Yeah. We love being on topic. We love talking about wrestling, except when we don't. As you recall, we were not here last week because we were experiencing emotional lows as a result of the product.
We also were planning to take a vacation week this summer anyway, so
we just moved that up. We had scheduled it. We had scheduled it, and we had planned to tell you guys like normally that we were gonna take a vacation and like pre-announce it, and then we were like, after the episode, we were like, we could just do it now. Let's just not go to work this week.
I think it was in the middle of the episode. I think that we basically had rage hangovers during the episode. And it was kind of like, yeah, I guess we could do the podcast. Do you think I've watched any of this? Do you think that I know what's happening? I kept thinking, though, I feel like I don't want this to make us sound like, I don't know, like we're having too big an emotional reaction. I felt like really proud of myself in kind of a gentle parenting way where I was like, I've identified that I'm having an emotion that's too big for what this is. And I think I just need to go sit with myself for a while.
Just take a week to process. Not a big deal. Yeah.
I think it was really smart of us because it's like the episode we would have made, I think would have been just like, I don't know. I don't like listening to other people talk about something that they hate, like, relentlessly. So it's like, yeah. Like, we took our own medicine and we were like, this is not going to be a fun, like, episode to make or listen to. So we took a little break, and now we've come back with a little perspective and good moods.
And it turns out that what they say is true. Your mind is the pond. The feelings are the fish. Okay? So the fish are so much smaller and calmer now than they were, and I don't have to like what's happening, but I can accept it. I accept that it is happening. So let's talk about it. Last week, Hangman and Bryan Danielson fought for a match versus Swerve at Wembley, and Danielson won. So he won the Owen, and he won the title shot. Swerve came out later in the show. I think later, and announced that he'd be participating in Blood and Guts, which is happening next week. Shortly afterwards, Hangman, who had left the match with Danielson with a grim expression on his face, marched backstage to the Elite's dressing room and very curtly said he also would take the Bucks up on their offer of participating in Blood and Guts. What are our thoughts?
I was more bummed out than I expected to be. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I think I had said, like, the 3 scenarios I foresaw was, like, Hangman won, chill as fuck. Hangman loses, but immediately has something cool to do, would have been number 2. And then Hangman loses and is doing something lame. And it's like, oh, so it's number 3. I'm bummed as hell.
Which is not fully clear yet. It's not fully clear what Hangman is going to end up doing at Wembley.
Yeah.
But I agree. I also was surprised by the degree of my own reaction, where I just had such an intense, like, what are we fucking doing here?
Yeah, I think I, like, wasn't as upset as you guys, just because, like, I think, like, listening to James on O&R, like, I pretty much agreed with him, where it is, like, if Hangman wins, then he goes to Wembley, and either he loses again, or he has, like, a big heel win at Wembley, which, like, Toni doesn't like to do, so it's, like, it's not the ideal situation for me for Hangman, but I also think, like, if the men's division was giving me other things that were juicy and I was enjoying, I think this wouldn't be a big deal at all, but
yeah,
they're not. Like, the division is trash right now. Like, nothing good is happening. Not nothing good, but it's like the Elite seems like they're in a holding pattern. Like, I'm not very enthused about Blood and Guts. Like, now Swerve's tied up with Bryan Danielson, which isn't going to be juicy, although it'll be a good match. Like, Mox isn't there, and he's phoning it in. Like, Trent's injured.
And so you're saying the conglomeration isn't lighting you on fire? Is that...
Trent's injured, and we'll never see Dustin Chuck Taylor again, so I think OC is doing some good character work, but it's not really what I would love the most.
I've been a little concerned recently about how dark my thoughts about Dustin have gotten, where I'm just like, what is the point in this life for me? I'm never going to see Dustin on TV again. What am I doing here?
I know. I feel like I went through all the stages of, like, denial, like, bargaining, and then being like, he'll definitely come back after the surgery, though. And now I'm just like, I haven't seen him in 4 weeks, and I'm like, well, that's it. I just, like, even this, I was like, well, I'm not even mad that Hangman lost, because, like, what did I expect? Wrestling never gives me what I want. And then I was like, huh.
Oh, like, man. A true wrestling fan. A true wrestling fan.
I know. They're all so miserable all the time. I don't care for it. But also, I would like it. The women are killing it, but I'd love it if the men gave me one thing to care about.
Yeah. The women definitely, I mean, we'll get into it, but the women are definitely killing it. But it's like, if Toni and Mariah were getting the time, like the real estate, that, like, you know, that...
If they got the whole first hour of the show.
Right. Or, like, even the, like... Even just, like, the MJF promo time. Like, I know Mariah did get a promo. Yeah. We're going to get into it. I'm not skipping. But it's just, like, it's hard to be like, yeah, they're giving us exactly what we wanted. But it is only, like, 9 minutes out of a 2-hour show.
I was thinking about, I was like, there's 3 women's storylines that I'm really into. And I was like, and that's pretty remarkable when there's 0 men's and the men get 80% of the time and the women get 20%. Yeah. It's like, well, cool, I guess.
But...
I'm very interested to see what happens with Danielson and Swerve, because in the aftermath of Bryan Danielson's win, while I was imagining throwing darts at his face, even though I had really enjoyed the match and had a great time.
It was a great
match. I had a wonderful time. He did some real moves, and then the second he won, I was like, this is fake. Wrestling is fake. You could never win this match. You could never beat Hangman in a fight. I can't believe that I'm being forced to participate in the farce here. And anyway, he was kind of beaming, and I think he cut a promo that I refused to watch about his win, and then Swerve came out, and Swerve said some stuff about, like, he said some stuff about Danielson, but it was just kind of like, so I'm not getting that heat. I'm not getting that fire. I'm not getting that passion in my belly.
I know. They're really not building it very much. Like, they didn't do much with it this week. And it's sort of interesting because it's like, apparently this Danielson being the match at Wembley hasn't been planned for a long time. But it's like, if it's been planned for a long time, why haven't we been, like, doing something with it this whole time.
Right.
Like, come on, guys. Like, give me a little.
Right.
And instead, our focus is, we're going to get into this, but our focus is still more on the elite stuff. I want to read Yixura's tweet. Crazy how Swerve doesn't think of Danielson beyond guy I need to beat to keep my title. Meanwhile, he's posting about Hangman on his socials every dang day. He was low-key disappointed Hangman didn't win. You cannot convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
And I do feel like that is the story I'm watching on my TV screen.
Right, yeah. For sure on socials, it's like, wow, you guys are pretty obsessed with each other. It's kind of all you want to think about.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, it's like Superman, like, unmasks the villain, and instead of being Lex Luthor, it's like fucking like one of the other Nimrods. He's like, oh.
Scooby-Doo.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's Scooby-Doo, and he's like, oh, well,
I guess go to
thought it was
jail.
gonna be my guy.
I thought we were going to monologue. And I thought it was going to be a whole thing. It's just like you and I up here on this cliff, but you're just some rando. Please, can you
Brian
come get
Danielson's
this
like,
guy?
"What, bro?" It's like, this is embarrassing for both of us.
Well, let's move into the bigger elite stuff. So we'll start with Darby Allin returned on last week's Dynamite and joined Team AEW for Blood and Guts, which he announced by beating up Brandon Cutler. And then this week on Dynamite, Jack Perry cut a promo explaining that he doesn't care about Brandon, so why would you try to do anything by beating up Brandon? And then he demonstrated that by also beating up Brandon. It is truly a thankless job to be Brandon Cutler.
It's so nice to see that Brandon still has something to do around here.
That's so true, yeah.
It's so funny and disrespectful to be like, do you think that hurts me? We beat up Brandon for fun.
Oh. JB also had a surprise opponent on Dynamite last week. It was youth pastor Marco Stunt. Returned
God.
from the grave.
I was so excited. It was crazy.
That was like a huge moment that we really needed in the middle of that episode.
I think it was actually on Collision because.
Oh, was it?
Was
but
it
I watched
Collision?
it.
Because we all watched Collision though because like that Collision
'cause
was really good because Hangman was doing some stuff I think.
Oh.
We all watched
watched
this on Collision?
Yeah, like a week ago, not this past Collision.
Oh,
but-
because it was the Hangman
yeah.
Jay White. It was the Collision
Yep.
before the bad Dynamite.
Right.
Oh,
Yep.
okay,
Wow.
okay. I'm on.
Because
board.
that's
I'm
why
on-
we were like happy and paying attention. and
Oh,
Marco
right,
came
right,
out,
right,
and we were
right,
like,
right,
yeah.
right.
That makes
okay.
a lot more sense.
Okay, I was like, I genuinely was like, and I don't think I watched
No, you
Collision in
definitely
the
didn't
mood
this
that I
week,
was
but-
in.
I had
No, but the
created
week before, like you and I were both watching it. It turned out separately, and then Allie tuned in
Yeah.
because we were like, something cool happened.
Yeah.
I had created for myself an alternate reality where JB and Marco Stunt opened Dynamite. And that's why I was still in a good mood.
They should have. Imagine how much happier we would have been if we had
Can
opened
you
Dynamite
imagine
instead of-
our like hysteria if we got to come on this podcast and report in on an hour-long JB Marco stunt match? Like Sir Sam, let's
my
get on that.
Oh my God. I think I did say to my co-hosts that there weren't going to be a lot of coherent facts in this schedule, but even I didn't realize how bad the situation was going to be.
I mean, who cares what episode it was on? It's
Who
totally.
cares? That's so true.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Marco Stunt is so fun to watch, though, and he's one of my
Yeah.
old friends. It was nice to see an old friend who I thought was dead forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's one of the guys that we're like, oh, like wrestling is like we're learning what wrestling is, and wrestling is fun, and everybody's all different shaped. We're learning about the different bodies or whatever, and it's like when you think about that, and like now you look at the lineup, and they're like,
I
well,
know.
a lot of the same
It's the
bodies.
same
Have the
body.
same
Yeah.
bodies. We don't get to talk about the relative sizes of men nearly as much as we used to. And
It's so pleasurable to look at like Marco Stunt next to JB next to Luchasaurus and
Yeah,
just
I
have
know.
those three dramatically different
That
sizes.
was huge for us. Where we
Oh,
were,
man.
you really understand how tall men are.
We really are just like attendees at a freak show being like, I love to marvel at them.
one of them is so small. The other one is so big. In the middle, normal size.
But it's somehow
And they all
like,
have similar hair too. It's
Depending
just, like,
on
the
who's
same
standing
man.
next to who, you think they're different. You think they could be smaller, shorter, or bigger than they are, but they're just always actually the same size.
but somehow like us watching wrestling is like we're like refugees from like Kimmy Schmidt's hole, but that got taken to a freak show. And so we're just like, we don't know what normal people look like, but these guys look strange, but we're trying to learn. We're trying to learn about the world.
Unbreakable. I have no fucking clue what we're talking about here. I have no clue what I'm supposed to be saying. Oh, okay. We did get some blood and guts spilled. So Swerve made peace with the Acclaimed and welcomed them onto his team, explaining that there's no better people to go to war with than some people you've done battle with. Extremely sexy sentiment. That one could pay dividends down the line. So let's keep it in our back pocket, okay?
Yeah.
So on Team AEW, we have the Acclaimed, Swerve. I tried to say Mark Ruffalo. It's Mark Briscoe.
Now
and
that is a match that I would fly to go see.
If Mark Ruffalo was going to Blood and Guts, yeah, I'd be in Nashville. No problem.
Tony,
Yeah,
we'll sell this show out like that. Just get Mark Ruffalo in there.
I think Mark Ruffalo would be into it too. I mean,
yeah,
I think he would he'd be interested in being asked.
I think you could sell him on it. Yeah,
probably wants to be invited. He's probably been waiting for an invitation. It's Mark Briscoe and Darby, and then Swerve fought Okada in the main event on Dynamite. The match ended. Can any of us really reproduce? The Bucks showed up and they started beating up Swerve. Had the match ended then?
No, it ended because they got... Okay, as I understand what happened, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Anne, the Bucks climbed in the ring and started beating on Swerve, which meant that Okada was automatically disqualified. But commentary was like, the Bucks forced the DQ. So I think Okada was going to lose, maybe, and they didn't want him to, like, lose, or... I don't know.
Did Swerve win via DQ?
It was a non-title match, so his title was never up for grabs. I don't really know. I don't know if DQs count as a win. I know you can't win a title off of a DQ, but I don't know if it would count as a win in the rankings.
But the match that you pulled from Cage Match or whatever says Swerve strictly defeats Kazuchika Okada by DQ, which makes it sound like it's like if your dog is bad at the dog park, you go to jail, which I guess maybe is right, depending on how bad the dog was. The Bucks are the dogs.
In tennis, if you get disqualified or something, it does count as a loss, or if you have to forfeit the court because you can't get enough players to play or whatever.
Right, but if I jumped on the tennis court and started beating up your opponent, would you automatically lose?
I would
just
automatically
because I'm
lose,
your friend?
I would think, yeah. Well,
but
interesting
this
question.
feels like it goes to the
that
court of friendship. Like, it's
okay.
like, don't we have to have an argument then about, like, well, can't they be like, well, we just did it because we were feeling a little frisky. It wasn't for anybody. We were just feeling like having some fun.
Oh, actually, in tennis, if the coach in the stands, they changed this rule recently, but if the coach in the stands is doing coaching at them, like signaling to them to do stuff, the player gets penalized. They, like, lose the point, which seems unfair because, like, the player wasn't doing it. Like, the coach could be acting on their own. But, I guess, if your friends beat up the opponent, you would.
I would give anything now for a backstage segment where the Bucks are trying that on CD. They're like, I don't think that should count as a DQ against Okada. I mean, he didn't ask us to be there. We just independently thought that maybe we would show up. So it's not
we
really
barely
his fault.
know the guy, actually. We were just there to have a good time. We don't like either of them.
And Christopher Daniels having to make a case like, I see you together in catering all the time. I see you're in each other's dressing rooms.
Because then the question also, though, is like, okay, so say that Swerve and Okada are fighting, and in the middle of the match, Big Bill jumps into the ring and beats up on one of them. Well, I guess it's just, I guess they're just assuming that the man being beaten up on wins. Yeah. Because he's not in on it. But what if Big Bill was pummeling both of them? Then there would be no winner.
Yeah.
Or what if Big Bill was trying to sabotage, like he was doing it to get the DQ, which I guess maybe the Bucks were doing this time. They could really manipulate that rule. Yeah.
I'm ready to play four-dimensional chess backstage at AEW, and I'm ready to lose because I'm not good at chess.
I'm terrible at chess. It's hard. I don't like it.
Jennifer Pepperman, hire us as your assistants. We have some great ideas. They don't make sense, but they're fun.
You're going to like the journey. And don't look too closely at the ending. And that's most of wrestling. To be
the
quite
way
honest.
that our creative match finishes would make Twitter so angry.
Yeah, it would be over. It would be over for the community. All right. Well, anyway, then everybody ran out. Everybody you can imagine ran out. If you can imagine a man who is going to be in Blood and Guts next week, he ran out. And the most important parts of this were that Hangman ran out clearly being like, I'm going to fucking fight Swerve. Got up on the apron. Swerve was staring him down. And then later is tweeting about it, like clearly just being like, what is sexy? I think he did tornado versus lightning, where it's like, okay.
Just two forces of nature staring each other down.
But then, now what information did we get about this? Okada pulled Swerve out of the ring, and then they brawled out into the crowd. I thought someone pulled Hangman out off the ring.
No, I think Hangman was, well, the vibe I got was that Hangman was like, well, if Swerve's not here, there's really no point for me, so I'm just gonna.
Someone that we share an internet space with said that Matt Jackson said something to Hangman, and Hangman got really pissed off and pushed Matt away and left, which is great.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
That's extremely. I wish the camera work had been a little bit more focused on this one, because I kept being like, where's Hangman? Where's Swerve? And I couldn't find them like at all. And it was very confused.
But it really took me back to our early days in wrestling, where we like much more often used to say things like, there's too many men in this ring. I don't know what's happening. I can't keep track of, I miscounted the men.
And then in those big like battle royals and stuff, like, anybody got eyes on Dustin? Where's Dustin?
And he'd just be taking a nap somewhere so sleepy.
Sitting in a corner of the ring, shooting the shit about the Knicks with, with the Butcher. They're like clearly like being like, you see that game last night?
A reminder to our listeners, this is the man we cannot live without. We can't live without him.
And yet we're being forced to.
But we're being so brave about it. And Darby came down out of the rafters, and he just pummeled the shit out of JB, and it is... Oh, it's because of the Iberico Ham match. He remains angry at JB.
Yes. I like that he came back down like a ham. It was very fun because like his music hit and everyone's like, where is he? Where is he? And you couldn't find it, and then he's coming down from the ceiling, which was very fun.
The ceiling.
But also his harness looks so dumb. Like when you've got a harness around your pelvis, you're like, you don't look that cool. So which I enjoyed.
If you take kayfabe extremely literally and never pay attention to anything off screen, it is kind of like Darby was hung up by his ankles and they pulled him up into the rafters, and he's been like that, and he just figured out how to free himself and come back down.
Darby's just a cat who got lost in the attic.
While I was in there, I found Shaq.
My God. Shaq would be too big to lower, surely.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Now, what else have we got going on here? I truly couldn't be more lost. Mid-match, we have the mayhem, blah, 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 blah. We have, just blood and guts. Will it be good? What do you think? Do you wear wigs?
It'll probably be fine. I don't feel that enthused, though. It's like, I like the guys in it, but, like, why does none of it feel like it has much force behind it? You know what I mean?
Well,
because it doesn't.
On ONR said something fairly, like, made my eyes open, where he was like, it's not a stipulation because you want the match. It's a match because you wanted the stipulation. And it's like, they wanted to have a blood and guts match. Yeah. And so now we're seeing all the seams and awkwardness as everybody's jockeyed into this position. It doesn't feel like the natural. I mean, I thought Anarchy in the Arena felt like a natural culmination to what's going on here. But this just feels like, and we did schedule this match, so I guess we're gonna figure this out.
I think they should stop like forcing these matches to be an annual thing. It's like if it makes sense, then sure. But just being like, well, we gotta have it in July is not a good enough reason.
Or at least
unless you're gonna put a little effort into it.
Right. If you're gonna do that, if you're gonna say every July we're doing a blood and guts, then in January you need to start putting the pieces in place, because I would love to have one of those moments where you're sitting on the couch watching it and then all of a sudden something happens and you're like, wait a minute, isn't it almost July? Oh shit, is this going to turn into blood and guts? You know what I mean? Like, that would be really cool, instead of just being like, oh, they announced blood and guts, I bet that this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. And like the whole Team AEW thing is just not really working. Like, I don't know what's going on with the Bucks gimmick, but it just doesn't feel like it just feels like it's in a treading water phase. And so it's like,
well, it's interesting because on their side, it actually feels like fine. Like, they're very good at playing these characters, and they could kind of play them for a long time. I'm not asking them to play them forever, but like, it's just entertaining to watch, and I don't have too many questions about it when I'm watching them. The problem is that I'm like, oh, but no one is like mustering a clear thesis about like, this is why I want to fight the Elite.
Right. It's like whenever they're on screen, I'm like, oh, I'm really enjoying this, but they're not on screen that much. And then the people, in opposition to them are just like, there's no like coherent story there really at all. So,
But it'll probably be a good match.
Yeah, probably.
I want to see some, well, okay, to be honest, what I would ideally like is we have our little ragtag Team AEW crew. We've got Swerve, Darby, Mark Ruffalo, and the Acclaimed. I'd love to see some sit-down team meetings backstage where Swerve is being like, I'm in charge here. I'm just going to lay out like how I think we'll be approaching this. And he just cannot get these men to cooperate. And he's getting a little bit of like headachy project leader vibes of just like, I'm not trying to heel out on your asses. I want to get this win. I want to get this job done. And it's like Max Caster is drawing a dick on Darby's face. Yeah. You know?
Absolutely. That would go a long way if we had some like whiteboard sessions where Swerve's like, okay, so here's the plan of attack, and Max Caster's just Yeah.
So that's a free idea. So I'd book that if I were you. You guys want to talk really quickly about this post-match Elite promo?
Oh my god.
Post-match, post-show Elite promo.
Oh my god, I cannot believe. Like, I was kind of like, I don't know, I am not entirely like loving everything that's happening with the Elite right now, and so I was kind of like, I'm like mildly like, what, like, I don't know what we're doing. And then to get a promo where Nick took off his shirt and then Matt had his beautiful hair
down. Yeah.
And he was angry, and he had all of the energy of the most offended Karen in the world.
Oh, he was talking to the manager. It's a little exercise that I'll recommend to the listeners is watch the promo but on mute so you don't hear anything that he's saying. And you are at like Macy's looking over at the next counter and being like, wow, that saleswoman is having a bad day.
Like POV, you were a cashier at Macy's and you just told Matt Jackson that his item is not returnable, and this is what's happening. He is mad.
Just in the middle, just going, my wife is calling me. My wife is calling. I mean, at the end of the day, and Nick said, these girls are dying. These girls are fucking dying because they never get to see any bare chests.
Nick for being our only wrestler listener. Appreciate it.
God, thank you so much.
Nick is the only one who cares for us.
Yeah.
And he made a real production of it. He said
really
they're going to need something a little special because they have been wandering in the wilderness for so long. So he stripped down for us. Like we were at Magic Mike XXL.
Yeah,
and
he was fiddling with those buttons a little bit. He teasing, being like, am I going to do it? And I like immediately stopped breathing. And I was like, is he? Is he gonna? Oh my God. It's happening. It's all happening.
He did it. And I have to say, it was looking amazing under there.
Oh,
it was everything I remembered.
I know.
And more.
I was worried that they weren't as beautiful as I always, like, in my, like, golden toned memories. But they were just as, like, firm and supple.
If we start a TikTok, Allie, you should make like a boob edit, Young Buck boob edit.
Our TikTok got deleted for some reason. I don't think that I posted anything inappropriate, but we could bring it back for a special boob edit.
Boob edit.
We should think of what a good boob edit song is. Like a really good titty song. Okay.
I also appreciate all of the listeners that reached out to us to make sure we had seen the boob. I really appreciated that. Love.
And to just do a little health check in our time of tit. So thank you so much to the greatest men on earth. Let's move on to the women. Last week on Dynamite, Mariah won the Women's Owen Cup. The Owen Hart Tournament. In a match versus Willow Nightingale. And she leapt into Toni's arms in the ring, and Toni spun her around, and she seemed so happy about her mentee winning. And Toni didn't even seem, like, stressed out, like, now I'm going to have to fight you. Like, she really just seemed like, this is the teacher who is fucking in your corner. And she wants your star to burn brighter than hers eventually. That's the energy Toni was giving. And they went to leave, and Mariah turned on Toni, beat her up until blood was streaming down her face. She hit her with the shoe that Toni wasn't watching for because she loved Mariah. And Toni was just wailing in misery, and she wasn't even fighting back. She just kind of sagged into it. Like, she just looked like a woman who had gone into the hell of her own mind because she couldn't believe it was happening. And so that was honestly one of the best Dynamite endings
so good
we've ever had. Although at the time I think I was saying, like, I wish I were in a better place to appreciate this.
I know. I'd honestly like to issue an incredible apology to the women. I'm so sorry that we weren't, like, recording the week that you did art. Like, you did the best art. You executed it so well, and I'm sorry we weren't there for you in that moment. We were in our little holes.
You were stronger than us. We weren't strong enough for you.
Yeah.
Once again, men
Alanis?
hurting women.
The women paid for the sins of men. Once again.
Toni,
Mariah, I wasn't man enough to be your man. And that's on me. That's on me.
But it was perfect.
Thank you,
the
Leah.
way the pent up energy that Mariah brought to this, like the way she was hitting Luther in particular, felt like she has been wanting to beat this man for quite some time. And I mean, she also brought it to Toni, but there was like a real energy of like, this guy has been working my last nerve.
Oh, absolutely. Well, because she's not even trying to get his belt. It's just like, what does this guy do? What is he here for?
Annoying me around it. Yeah.
And I think the vibes have been like Luther has suspected her all along.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
That Luther has been like, there's something up with Mariah. And she's like, shut up.
Which is such great Ultimate Butler energy to be like, sir, like, ma'am, the hooligan you've brought into this house does not have your best interests at heart, like I do. You're devoted butler.
Yeah, that's the most sacred relationship there is. And then when Mariah kissed Toni's bloody face.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Okay, Killing Eve. Okay, psychosexual freak woman fantasy.
Yeah, blood all over her face. Incredible. Great
It's fucking messed me out. I mean, it's like it's so pleasant. Not strong enough word. To just watch a storyline that has worked the whole time, and that it feels like they have had so much confidence in, because I was thinking about, like, when Mariah May debuted and wasn't really doing that much, there were people, I'd seen someone mention this, there were people being like, well, we need to be seeing her wrestling, like, we need to see more, and I don't think we called for that. I think we were like, well, we can just meet her, but we weren't that interested in her. Yeah, we were just kind of like, I don't know what she's doing, I'm not sure I like what she's doing. Not that I think that, whatever. Anyway, but they really didn't seem worried about, like, oh, we need to pivot because people aren't getting it. The whole way through, they've just been like, no, we're telling the story that we know we're telling, and you're going to get it eventually.
Yeah.
And everyone did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like they did, like, I don't know if all the Mina stuff was planned the whole time, but, like, they did a good job just of, like, like, they have this All About Eve storyline, like, kind of backburnering the whole time, but, like, the characters were making sense and everything was happening, and then you get these interesting little wrinkles in it that have been really entertaining. Like, I feel like I just think to do a long-term story in wrestling, like it's risky because you've always got injuries and stuff, and you have to be able to sort of, like, account for the unexpected, like, crowd reaction and stuff like that. But I think they did a really good job of just, like, delineating really clear characters and then, like, going with it and also, like, sticking with the vision. I mean, it was really well done.
Absolutely. And they really, I mean, the fact that, like, they paced it so well that, like, at so many times, I was like, I really genuinely don't know who's turning on who, because it could go so many ways, but I'm just not worried about it because I'm just happy to have it be happening. Yeah. And the reveal this week that the architect of this story was RJ City.
I know.
Unbelievable. It feels
Congratulations, RJ City. It was perfect. Love it.
Round of applause.
Yeah. And the wrestlers themselves, too. I think, I feel like I saw them saying that. It's like great work from both of them.
Not to praise a man for all of his achievements. I'm really doing nothing but misogyny.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in here and stop you and just say,
after
we're also
misogyny.
gonna...
What I think about women
and I know you think I'm a misogynist.
What I always say is that behind every great woman is RJ City.
Yeah. Well, she said it, folks, but we didn't. It wasn't me and Ann. It was Leah who said that.
Our team is doing fine.
Who's off my team?
Okay, so then this week on Dynamite, we got a Mariah package, just kind of like reviewing their history over the course of the storyline. And then she came out to do an in-ring promo. She came out. Does one of you want to explain the situation?
Oh my God.
She came out dressed as Toni with Toni's whole entrance and in black and white. And so I thought it was Toni for a little bit because they really do look alike when they've got their hair done the same way and they're in the black and white and you're expecting it. And it was like, oh, this is creepy. I love it.
Yeah, I think the other ones with their hair long, it was like instantly like you knew. But like with this one, I really was like, wait a minute. Is that not Toni? Like, it took me a minute and it was like, oh my God, that is so fucked up for her to do. Like, girl, your mind.
Your mind. So she came down to the ring and she gave this promo where she was basically like, I think we all saw this coming. It would be crazy not to know that this is what was happening. And she says, honestly, I didn't think it would last this long either, but it was so easy. And I was having so much fun stringing her along, which is just like such
great explanation. Yeah. Oh my God.
I just wanted to see how far it would go. But then I saw Wembley and I thought, why take the old horse out back when I can kill it in front of as many people as possible?
Ooh. Killer. Yeah, I like this, like, compared to other heel turns where it's like Trent had just, like, had enough at a certain point and that, like, worked really well. But in this one, it is, like, she's an evil mastermind and has been playing that all along. And it worked really well. And I thought her presentation here was, like, so confident and creepy because she went pretty slow, but I liked it.
She went really slow. It was slightly slower than I wanted. She was dealing with a very badly behaved crowd, and I thought she handled that really well, so I wasn't holding it against her. I did just like kind of remember in the middle, I was like, they tell you to talk slow when you're out there because
you're
it's
nervous
easy to talk too fast.
Speed it up.
But I thought she did great, yeah.
Yeah, and she hooked her, at one point had hooked her elbows over the top rope and was just like leaning in this like cat-like, you know, I'm not worried about anything, you know, like I'm in my element sort of thing. And it was just like, oh, you're so bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was like, there's a new big bad in town.
Yeah.
You didn't know, you might've thought I was going to turn on her. You didn't fucking know how crazy I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy, too, because she's, like, only, like, 25. So, I mean, she just was executing this really well for being pretty young.
You know, some people have those innate storytelling instincts.
So true.
Yeah.
Generational talent, some might say.
Talent. Yeah.
And yet nobody's giving her credit for that.
Not even you, because you kind of gave RJ City credit.
Well, I just really don't think that women been really
When you see a woman's name on a book, you think, who really wrote this? Oh my god.
This is how I'm gonna get canceled.
Yeah. Well. Okay. What are we talking about? Any thoughts on the Wembley match / what we're going to be up to for the rest of the summer as we build? I guess it's only a month for the next month.
I'm very interested to see whether where Toni's mind is, like whether she is going to be like so mad at being betrayed that like it's going to be like a grudge match, but like I could go with like a week or two where like she's like crying Toni again, you know, like remember when she cried with no makeup on, like
in sweats.
And then, I remember.
Yeah, and then she could kick into gear and have her like big redemption moment. I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff that could happen.
Yeah, I really don't know who's gonna win either, which I feel psyched about.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I've seen some people saying this should main event, and I'm like, I'm sure it won't, but I appreciate that we're giving it the credit it deserves here.
Right.
I agree. They've got that passion. They've got that
fire. Hey,
fire.
They got that dog in them.
They got that dog in them. They each have a dog in them. They have 2 dogs. There are 2 dogs inside me.
It's so much better than all the other matches for Wembley, which all have 1 dog at best.
One dog. We got a bunch of. Can we roll that out? We got a bunch of 1-dog matches on this card. Okay. We'll see what happens. Shall we move on?
Yes.
Yeah.
If we have to. We'll move on to MJF and Ospreay, who opened Dynamite this week with a 60-minute match for Ospreay's international belt, the one that he has. Correct? Yes. That's the belt he has.
So true.
Amazing. MJF won by... he kind of like knocked Bryce out, and then he had his Dynamite diamond ring, and he did a little cheating in like the last 5 seconds. Is that he cheated, right?
Yeah, he had the ring on.
Yeah. He cheated, and Ospreay, of course, yet again could not make himself do his lethal Tiger Driver 91. What'd you guys think of the match? All 60 minutes of it. It was long.
It was a good match.
Is that the length the match should be? There's been debate.
The best mood. I was sitting there watching it like, is this match going to be the only thing on Dynamite? We can't talk about one match the whole time. It's not something we can do on our podcast.
There was a point like 15 minutes after the match ended where someone on commentary was like, and after these breaks, we've got so much more to come. And I was like, well, we don't have much more to come at all. I've seen 2 things, and I'm going to see maybe 1 more. Okay? The show is basically over. Excalibur.
And I feel like when you do have a 60-minute match, like where it belongs, which is on a pay-per-view rarely, it's like at the culmination of a feud. You know, like you've had a lot of foreplay first. Like you're ready for a big climactic moment. Whereas this one, MJF and Ospreay have barely talked. So it's like, guys, we can't go right to the climax. That's not, we need a little.
Yeah, like you just met and you're jerking off under the bleachers.
Yeah, like,
neck a little first.
Get to know each other.
This is like the 3rd match of a trilogy kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Not our first, fling.
Did they explain why it was a 60-minute time? Is that just a normal amount of time that people just don't go that long so I don't notice?
I think for title matches, it usually is a 60-minute time limit, but they don't usually ever go.
No, they don't. They don't usually, no.
They sure don't.
It did crack me up that Swerve tweeted, it took him an hour, but it only took me 17 minutes or whatever it was he said.
And that's why Swerve's the best one right there. Amen, brother.
It I don't want to come off as being mean. I enjoyed the match. I enjoyed
a good match,
many parts of the match. I wasn't in the mood to watch that much match.
No.
And I felt, well, what do you guys think is going to happen now? What do you guys think is coming?
What do you do when you've already climaxed and you still have a month left?
Yeah.
Just lie there with... Bleep that. Bleep that for sure. Please bleep that. I don't know, Anne. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I have seen a certain amount of speculation, that, of course, that we'll get that MJF Ospreay rematch at Wembley, and Ospreay will win the belt back, so that Toni, the Booker, and Big Dave crying on the sidelines can at least have some kind of a special moment for Ospreay with a big belt at Wembley, and that makes sense to me. I don't think it's very interesting.
I'm like that the Booker always has to think about Big Dave crying on the sideline. It's like, we gotta throw him something. He's so sad.
Just imagining that Toni is at Gorilla and he has a camera on Dave and he's like, oh, he just looks miserable. We've got to give him something. We got to get his spirits up.
I think also with this match, it's like MJF has not been, I'm keeping my heart open, but it's taking more and more effort since he's been back. Like, he hasn't been delighting me. And I feel like the biggest part of my problem with him is he takes up so much time and energy compared to the amount that I'm enjoying him. And so him getting a 60-minute match is just like, oh, great.
This
okay.
guy?
Again? Come on.
Now, Mia, you had said, oh, sorry, you go.
No, I was just going to say, like, and the other thing about it is I keep seeing people be like, well, you're not supposed to like MJF's character right now. He's a heel. And I'm like, yeah, but he's not like an interesting heel or like a like enjoyable heel. And I don't understand like this like jerk off conversation about like just because a heel is evil, he's automatically a good heel. And it's like, well, I agree that like you should allow heels to be evil, but there's still like interesting evil and not interesting. Like, the idea that, like, I'm supposed to be excited about someone, like, being like, I care about ratings. I'm like, this is the same as, like, Mercedes telling me she cares about business. I'm like, I don't care. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that... that's actually what I was going to ask you to expand on, Leah, was, like, your thoughts on kind of, like, what his heel character is right now. Because it is kind of like... He hasn't done anything that made me think like, oh, that's an interesting new angle. He was kind of like, well, I got a heel turn again, so I'll go back to being same heel. And he hasn't done that much to play with it. Although now that I'm saying it, I'm like, well, I don't know how much he should have done. He just did it. It was just 60 minutes. It was just 60 minutes, okay? When it's 60 minutes, that's why this scrutiny is coming in. We're always saying you can do anything for 5 minutes, but when you do it for 60, then sometimes you have girls on a podcast saying like, well, it was 60 minutes. It was a lot of minutes.
I know. When we tell people to stop being babies, it's always like, it was a 30-second promo, like, calm down. And now it's like, well, it was more than half the show.
It was more than half the show.
Yeah.
The thing was that I really liked him fucking with Daniel Garcia because, like, I think that you can really look into that and be like, you know, his whole thing is that, like, he made himself vulnerable and then he feels like he was punished for it. And so he's looking at Danny Garcia, who has made himself incredibly vulnerable, and he's disgusted and he wants to hurt that person. He wants to punish, like, this avatar of himself that he sees. And that's fascinating, and I could keep going with that. But then it's like the promos he does end up being so much work shoot stuff and like not that like what I want, you know? So I'm just sort of like, if Danny Garcia comes back and he and MJF have like a real like feud, they could get into some stuff that would really excite me. But unfortunately, I don't think that Ospreay and MJF are wrestling soulmates, because I think that Ospreay wants to be a storyteller, but MJF is not going to be his Hangman. You know, like, it's not like MJF I don't think is going to bring it out of them. And so it's just sort of like, okay, well, I guess this is happening at All In. I don't think they're going to get into anything. So, okay.
Yeah. And I think that the Tiger Driver 91 thing is probably a good example of, from my perspective, Ospreay being like, I want to tell a story. I want it to be coherent. I want you to see me go on an emotional journey, which I love. But I do think that there are many storytellers at AEW who would be adding more interesting steps to that journey, whereas Ospreay seems a little stalled. Like, he got to, I don't want to do the Tiger Driver 91, and then we're kind of stalled at, and I keep not wanting to do it. And we're not necessarily seeing, like, I don't know, like something that keeps building tension. It's like we are just in a suspended tension that then kind of becomes less tense the longer you're in it, where you're like, well, you haven't done it a bunch of times, so probably at some point you will.
Yeah, and I think it's probably hampered a little bit by AEW not really liking to dwell on losses, because you could do a thing where it's like Ospreay did like lost to Swerve, and that was like a big loss, and he kind of like shook it off, but like he should have that moment where it's like, am I right not to use the big weapon that I have in my arsenal? Like, this weapon took out Kenny Omega. Should I be using it? Is it right?
Yeah.
Like, if I lose on ethical grounds, is that what I want for myself? So then he just lost again to MJF. So it's like, if he manages to do the thing where he's like, I hated losing. I hated it. It makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
And I can't handle it. So I'm going to, like, is that going to make me feel bad enough to raid the weapons chest? Then, like, that is kind of interesting. But it's like, but he just instead keeps going from match to match, and during the match he's like, am I going to go into the weapons chest? But like, not really in between. He's not linking the matches to each other.
Yeah, they need to be doing those like sad boy loss promos that they did after the Connie, where it's like a depressed boy backstage, like sitting, like against the wall and talking about how, he disappointed his father or whatever. Like, I think if Ospreay did one like that, and then if you did see him being like, well, maybe I will do, because the loss was so crushing to me, maybe I will do it this time, but then he does it and feels guilty, or whatever. Like, at least keep some movement for sure.
Yeah. I don't even know what I think like a perfect version of this would be, because I'm running up against the thing where I'm like, well, if I were writing the story, like, I think that you should learn to win without it, and that you should be super, super good, but not have to do it. Like, and that's the thing that you're overcoming. There's like a mental obstacle of like, you think that you need this to win, so you lose when you don't do it. But like, there's actually another issue here. Like, there's something else that you need to deal with. And I don't know what I think that thing should be. I mean, it kind of is. I thought he and Swerve did do a good job of just setting up, like, it's that, like, you are immature. You don't, like, really know who you are. Like, maybe, like, in some ways, like, you maybe have a perception of yourself as, like, I'm a cool guy because I can do this cool move, but now that I'm not doing the cool move, I don't have that same feeling about myself. Like, there's some, like, lack of,
well, you could really see, those two characters, like, shedding a lot of light on each other, whereas MJF and Ospreay, like, aren't really. Like, I don't think I've learned anything about either of them from their interactions.
We like when we see Swerve do storytelling. We like when we see Hangman do storytelling, but we don't like when we see men who are not doing as good storytelling. That's just us. We like when we see men really be doing it, but then when they're not doing it as much, that's what we don't prefer as much. So, but it's fine. MJF did.
I mean, it was a good match.
It was a good match. It was a good match.
If it had been 30 minutes, I would have been very happy with it. But
I think if it had come in a different point in our wrestling cycle, also it was just like,
it was.
Like, oh, I can't deal with this.
Like,
right
when
now.
I'm right on the edge already, and I'm worried about what I'm going to talk about on my podcast.
And it was 2 weeks in a row of like, okay, Toni, to set up your Wembley match, to set up your big Wembley match, you're so excited about.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. It was just kind of like when you go into the kitchen and you're just like, is there any snacks here? And like somebody's like, here's a quiche. And you're like, oh, I mean, like, I'm not saying the quiche is bad. It's just like not really what I was hoping.
Yeah, it's
for.
like a quiche at its proper time is of course a delight.
Delightful.
But
when I'm in the mood for it, absolutely. I'd work through it.
But when you're looking for like a little like late night gusher packet, it's not really hitting the same spot.
Quiche, know your place. Okay. Do you guys have any final thoughts about MJF needing that oxygen mask afterwards?
That was another time that you could tell that I was like not really in the mood for it, because he was doing the most sitcom like pratfalling around with the stupid oxygen mask, and it should have been funny, but I was just like, all right, this is stupid.
I've had it up to here with you. Yeah.
I did feel kind of like a fed up parent, where I'm like, I've been at Disney World all day. You need to get yourself under control.
Yeah, I mean,
Time for bed.
especially because like I am more interested in how Ospreay's handling the loss. So I was like a little bit like, can the camera like move off MJF for a minute and show me Ospreay's sad boy face? Like,
MJF was kind of like mothing around the camera. Like, he was like, I gotta be by that camera. Okay, I'm trying to watch something. Should we wrap up by discussing Mercedes Britt?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know why I said it like that, because I don't seem to have described anything here. Maybe I did. No, I did. This is what I did describe. This is fine. Okay, we're all good. Okay. So Mercedes put out an open challenge on Twitter for anyone but Britt. She said, anyone can challenge me for my beautiful belt but Britt. And Nyla Rose responded, and she had a promo on Collision. That was super fun, very high energy. Love you, Nyla, every time I see you.
So delightful.
Mm-hmm.
Then on Dynamite, we got a backstage promo. It was actually an Elite promo, and then Mercedes kind of wandered into it, where Mercedes thanked the Bucks and Okada for banning Britt from backstage so that she couldn't celebrate Dynamite 250 with them. That's the other thing, is that it was Dynamite 250. And it was just like, I thought we were going to have like a fun, like, I thought it was going to be like a freewheeling carnival celebration of AEW. That's kind of what I felt like you pitched to me when you kept saying it's Dynamite 250. But then half of it was not that.
Where I'd see all my old friends, Freaks and Marco Stunt in the Dark Order, and instead I watched Ospreay and MJF for 65 minutes.
Why did they bring Marco Stunt back for this episode? Because that would have been quite a pop.
Can you imagine how much I would have popped?
That would have been fucking smart. That would have been really smart.
We're out here like, you know what drives ratings? The Marco Stunt pop.
Listen, when Marco Stunt is here, the line goes up. No,
Line
but I
goes
think
up,
Trish says all the time that AEW doesn't really know how to cash in on nostalgia, and they don't encourage you to be like, oh, it's my show, it's my little show, and I've been watching it since it was born, and I love my little show. There's not very rarely moments where you're just expected to reflect back and be like, wow, 250, man, we all did this together.
Big achievement. Did you see it did get a pretty good rating too? I was like, don't encourage him.
Don't encourage him.
I really want to be like, you get one of those a year. You get 1 hour-long match a year. I can't be doing that regularly.
It's too much. Who are you making this show for? It should be for us. It should be made pretty much for us.
It's just trying to make it really clear that it's not. We know.
We know. Anyway, sorry. So she said, thank you for banning Britt from backstage. Matt Jackson says, let's just say there's going to be no drama from the DMD to the CEO via your EVPs. Amazing little corp speak there. And then he said, Rainmaker wants to know if you'll do your cool dance for us. They did the Mercedes dance. Okada seemed to be having the time of his life. He loved dancing, and he said he got all hot and sweaty.
He's so funny
faces about that too, where he was just like, oh god, and Matt was, I really want to someone to make emojis of Matt's stank face, where he was like, oh, what is happening here? And he's like,
Okada's
okay?
really I feel like almost any other male wrestler being so overwhelmed by their attraction for Mercedes, I would not enjoy. And any other wrestler saying bitch constantly, I wouldn't enjoy. But Okada just manages to charm me with both.
He can do it. Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. He's bringing a very cheerful and sly energy to it at times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's really winking. So then Nyla and Mercedes had their match. Mercedes tried to do Britt's lockjaw on Nyla, and she had I think it was a surgical glove with press-on nails. Is that right? Which I'm so. I wouldn't want that in my mouth for sure. It's a no. It's gonna have to be a no for me. But then Nyla got away from that. She won with a different move that I couldn't name if you paid me. And Mercedes got out of the ring. She's celebrating. She grabbed a Britt Baker sign that someone was holding ringside to rip it up. And the person holding it was wearing a Sting mask. Mask comes off. It was Britt. They get into it. They're fighting, and security has to break them up. And Mercedes is slumped against the ring, doing some of the funniest face acting I've ever seen, where she just keeps making this face like she doesn't know what wrestling is. What happened? How could that happen?
That's so funny. That is like someone at your regular work showed up in a Sting mask, and it was your email enemy. Why would you do that? That's crazy. Linda from accounting Not cool.
Linda, this isn't normal. I loved this. I felt like we had never seen this particular wrestler plant in the crowd move from a woman before in our time watching. Could that possibly be right?
I think
I
that
couldn't
sounds
remember.
right.
And yeah.
I loved it.
It was thrilling, to be honest. I was like, women never get to do fun
Finally, some
Scooby-Doo
equality.
shenanigans. Yeah.
So Mercedes also had a little, I guess she has some kind of like newsletter or something. I love all of her different streams of content.
She's out there getting after it. Yeah.
Busy, but where she was kind of celebrating the match and just being really nice about, she was so excited to have wrestled Nyla, etc. And then she said, I want to make sure Britt Baker knows that I'm pretty much willing to wrestle anybody at this time but her. What do you guys think of the Mercedes-Britt relationship, like this build, and where you think it's headed?
I mean, it is very fun for her to be avoiding Britt. Like, do you remember, like, the 7 Labors of Jericho thing that, like, MJF made Jericho go through? Yeah. Like, I could watch that where Mercedes is like, Britt, I'll definitely fight you, but only if you bring me the golden fleece.
There was a period where they were doing that 7 Labors kind of too much. And
They did it, like, twice in a row, and I was just sitting here
Yeah.
trying to think of what the other big one was. Who else had to labor?
I think it was Adam Cole for Jericho, wasn't it? Like,
Jericho double labored?
I think Jericho labored for MJF, but then made Adam Cole labor for him, I believe.
Classic Jericho.
Okay, it is so funny to be like, oh my god, actually my enemy had a really good trick. Like, just use that one.
That's mine now. I did just think with this newsletter thing, I thought, wow, that must be so nice for Mercedes fans to just get a little newsletter from her all the time. And then I thought, imagine if Dustin wrote us a newsletter every week.
Oh my
imagine
God.
how happy I'd be.
Oh my god. Just to get like DustinsThoughts.gov.
Yeah.
Like unbelievable.
Just like, I'm excited about Dynamite 250. My backstage job is going well. Like, yeah, please send me a Christmas letter every week.
Oh
God.
my God.
I wish. You know, I was I recently, I think I heard an ad for this service that's like to try to get your parents to like write down their memories.
Oh yeah.
and I was thinking about it because my brother and I are always being like, we've got to get our parents to, they don't like to talk about like, you know, their lives and their emotions stuff. We're like, we've got to get this stuff out of them. And so I was like researching it, and basically it emails whoever you choose, like someone once a week, like a list of questions or something.
Yeah, my brother actually got that for my parents.
Oh, really?
one year for Christmas.
Did they
so
do
they
it?
Did it? Yeah, and now I've got like a book from each of them with like their answers to the prompts. Because yeah, they emailed them like a prompt or a couple prompts every week, and then they'd write up a little essay on it. And honestly, it's great. Like I loved reading it from both of them.
Okay, well, I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna run that by my brother for the Christmas bank. Luckily, my parents don't listen to this, but I wish that we could send that. I wish we could sign
Oh my
wrestlers
God.
up for that.
Yeah.
I can just
Oh man, if
feel
we were
like
Dustin,
somewhere,
just like, what was your childhood bedroom like? Yeah.
I think somewhere Dustin just shivered. Like he was like, "Oh God, someone's thinking something evil into the world."
He's like, I gotta check my contract. They can't make me do that. They can't make me do that.
I would pay, if Dustin wrote a newsletter, I would like literally pay like $20 a month to subscribe to it.
Yeah, Substack.
And he
At
won't do it
least.
though. Like
I
he
know.
wouldn't do the cameo because he
doesn't-
like hit one obstacle and was like, "I won't do that."
Remember when he very recently was the guest commentator at Mystery Wrestling,
Yes.
and then at the end he just goes, "You can find me on Twitch. I don't do that anymore." Okay.
God damn it.
It was so cruel. It was like, I
I
feel
know.
you're looking at me. You're looking through the screen at me and saying like, I know you want to see it.
Yeah.
You're not.
I feel
You're
like-
just not going to. You're never going to see me
Dustin-
again.
What's your retirement plan? You could be taking that my $20 a month, and you've got at least 20 fans that would probably do that, you know? And that
We
would add
want
up.
to be your retirement.
Put it straight in an IRA, buddy. For a
Please.
wunk. Come on.
You know how like the actors from like cult TV shows will make like an
Yes.
annual salary just from like attending cons
Yeah.
for like sad fans that are still obsessed with those shows, and it's like whenever
Yeah,
you
James
see
Marsters,
pictures,
sure, yeah.
yeah, whenever you see pictures from those, you're always like, oh, that looks so sad, but like they're making a lot of money. It's like, Dustin, you need to get in that game because
Yeah.
like Absolutely. You don't even have to wrestle. All you have to do is just talk to your sad little fans every once in a while. And
I was going to say, and it's
money.
not sad for those fans. It's so fun for those fans. And it makes them so happy.
You'd be giving fans pleasure. You could make some good money.
Do you want to give anybody pleasure? Have you ever considered giving somebody pleasure?
I think this has been a normal Mercedes Britt segment anyway. Sorry,
Dustin is curled up in a ball somewhere out there. He's like, the evil thoughts will not stop coming.
Dude. It's funny, like, you know, whenever you get like in a bad mood or something and you don't really know why, it's like maybe someone out there is thinking bad things that you hate, and like that's what's
Thanks for that psychic damage, Anne. Okay. Is there anything you want to say about Orange Cassidy beating Greg with a wrench?
With a wrench.
It was intense.
With wrench.
Yeah.
I do think he's doing some good character work because he does have these like catatonic depression phases, and then he like hulks out with rage because he really did hit Greg with a big wrench. It was pretty. I mean, Greg beat him up quite a bit first, but still, you know, little Orange Cassidy.
And Greg did crack me up because he tweeted something like numbness in my arms and tingling in my neck, and that little guy's still a fucking asshole.
He was like, but he puts his hands in his pockets and it's funny, so I guess it's fine. Like, Greg, you're the best one.
You're one of the great minds of our time, Greg.
I'm kind of glad to hear. I mean, not glad. I feel better about his push knowing that he's hurt and not just like been forgotten about, because there was a period where I was like, why did we do all of that if you weren't going to put him on TV?
I know, he's not even fighting, and it'd be like matches where like everybody else is fighting but not him, and you're like, why is Kyle O'Reilly here but not Trent? But so it's like, well, that's why they should always tell us when people are injured.
No
Justin,
kidding.
Greg.
There should just be just put a little red flag on their profile on the website. And no, this isn't medically invasive, okay? I don't need to know what the problem is. Just put a red flag just being like, it's not a personal problem. That would be so catty, though, because it's like if someone isn't on TV but they don't have the red med flag, it's just like, well, I guess it is a personal problem.
I guess it's a bad attitude, probably. I guess someone's turning down their creative.
Tony should have like a little like flag that just means you've displeased Tony, and that's why you're not on TV.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, Tony
it's like
should
there's
also
the injured list, and then there's the penalty box.
Some people have been sitting in that penalty box for a long time. Tony also should be doing, again, on the AEW website, I want to see good penguin, bad penguin of the week. And I just want to know how people are behaving backstage. I want to know if they've been on good behavior or bad behavior.
That would honestly be a great EVP gimmick move, I think.
Oh my God, you're so right.
Yeah, they could tweet it every week where it's like, oh, good wrestler who, and then what they did,
Fuck, that would be so funny. That would be so fucking funny.
Pass it along.
It would be good for the EVPs or honestly Jericho. Like, that would also be fun.
Absolutely.
Either way.
Too. Yeah.
Jericho's would have to be like, Jericho should do like in an elementary school classroom, you have like the star chart where it's like people are getting stars for what they've done, and then it's you can earn points or whatever. That's what Jericho needs. So all the wrestlers should be there, and you should be able to see like who's taking his advice. Like Big Bill has so many stars, and who has like negative stars basically.
And I would love it if Jericho had like he got a big poster board and like hand wrote in marker and then put physical stars and then posted a picture of it daily with where everybody was, or at least weekly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck. We should be in charge.
We should. We do a lot of little grace notes that I think would really add a lot to the.
It's true that it's like ideally what I would love to do is just kind of like set dressing. Like these aren't going to be like the focus of any segment, but I think they would add so much color to the segments that are focused on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
The devil is in the details.
Yeah, I don't want to have to try to convince some dumb wrestler to lose or whatever, but I'd love to come up with ideas for star charts.
God, no. I don't want to have anything to do with who lose or win.
Like, none of that, none of the hard stuff, but it's like we're running the Instagram, we're making little fun Instagram stories, we're running the TikTok, we're, you know, we're doing little stuff.
Fun.
We're doing
making
fun
the
stuff.
Making the titty talks and making the star charts.
Titty talks. Beautiful work.
I think that's it. Was there anything you guys wanted to talk about that I did not get to?
Look how much we found to talk about this week.
We found what joy we could. I I'm happy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm in a little midsummer slump, I think. So, and I feel that Toni is as well. So it's not a good combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, been a rougher couple. I mean, 2024 in general has been pretty good at AEW, I would say.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's been better. It's been better than 2023.
Yeah.
certainly in 2022, to be
Better
honest.
than most
so,
2022.
Yeah.
Wow, we haven't had a year this good since 2021.
2021.
2021, a great year, though.
Hey guys, the years start coming. They do not stop coming. Okay, on that note, I have been Allie.
I've been in.
And I've been Leah.
This is Tunnel Talk. Our theme is by Chris Corkin. You can find us on Twitter and Tumblr at Tunnel Talk Pod, via email, tunneltalkpod@gmail.com. You can find us on the Social Suplex Network feed, where you can check out some of the other great podcasts on the network. And you can also find us on the Social Suplex Network Discord, where we hang out and sometimes say kind of like pervy freak stuff. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. My God, stay frosty. And as always, please come back next week.